Michaela Garecht was 9, a happy, carefree kid. She lived in Hayward, California, and on November 19, 1988, she left her house with her best friend Katrina for a quick trip to the Rainbow Market just 2 blocks away. It was the kind of simple Saturday errand kids made all the time. The streets were familiar, the market was familiar, nothing felt dangerous, not until it was too late. Michaela and Katrina rode their scooters to the store. They parked them out front, rushed inside for snacks and headed back toward home. But they forgot the scooters. They laughed it off and turned around to get them. That decision changed everything. When they got back to the market, one scooter was gone. They scanned the lot, confused. Then Michaela spotted it, near a parked car. She stepped toward it, probably relieved that it hadn't been stolen after all. But as she reached for the scooter, the car door swung open. A man got out, young, thin, with long, dirty blonde hair and a pockmarked face. He grabbed Michaela around the waist, lifted her off the ground, and shoved her into the car. Katrina froze, just froze. Her best friend was screaming, kicking, trying to fight him off, but within seconds the car sped off, leaving Katrina standing there, stunned and terrified. She ran inside the store for help, but it was too late. The man, the car, Michaela, gone. The panic that followed was instant. Police flooded the area, witnesses came forward, but from the start, confusion clouded the search. The store clerk gave the wrong description. He'd seen someone else in the lot that day and mixed up the details. The wrong car, the wrong man hit the news. The media ran with it. The search focused on a burgundy sedan and a man with a mustache. But that wasn't the car, that wasn't the guy. The real car, a beat-up, older American sedan, maybe tan, gold, or cream. Cement splatters along the sides, front bumper smashed from a past wreck. The man? White, 18 to 24 years old, skinny, with longish blonde hair and acne all over his face. He wore a plain white T-shirt. The real car was last seen speeding south on Mission Boulevard, heading toward Union City, Michaela trapped inside. Leads poured in, none of them panned out, and then came the suspects, names that would haunt the investigation for years. First was Tim Bindner, a man who had a bizarre habit of inserting himself into cases involving missing girls. He reached out to their families, offered to help, played the part of the concerned citizen. But something about him felt off. Authorities suspected he got too much satisfaction from toying with grieving parents. Michaela's family felt it. So did others. But there was no evidence. Bindner stayed free, and even sued for defamation at one point, winning his case. Then came Curtis Dean Anderson, a convicted child killer. From his prison cell, he claimed responsibility for another girl's disappearance, Amber Swartz Garcia. He gave details. Police spent 1.5 years trying to verify his story. In the end, nothing. No body. No proof. Just another dead end. There were more names, James DeVeggio and Michelle Michaud, predators who abducted, tortured, and murdered a young woman in 1997. The speed freak killers, Shermantine and Herzog. Serial killers with at least 15 victims between them. Each time, investigators looked. Each time, they came up empty. For decades, Michaela's case went cold. Her family lived in that awful limbo. No answers, no peace. Just hope that someday, somehow, they'd learn the truth. And then, in December 2020, the truth finally whispered. A fingerprint, a partial palm print, left on Michaela's scooter that day. Technology that didn't exist in 1988 finally identified it. The print belonged to David Misch. Misch wasn't a stranger to the system. In 1990, he was convicted of murdering a woman in Hayward. In 2018, he was charged with the 1986 double murder of 2 young women in Fremont. A violent man, a serial predator hiding in plain sight, and now charged with abducting and murdering Michaela Garecht. 2 witnesses from that day picked him out of a photo lineup. He matched the description Katrina gave. And suddenly, the case that had haunted California for 32 years was no longer a mystery without a name. Mish sits behind bars awaiting trial. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. But one piece is still missing: Michaela. Her body has never been found. The pain for her family lingers. For them, there's no peace in a conviction alone. They want her back. They want to know what happened. The trial may bring answers. It may not. But one thing is certain: Michaela's story changed everything. It changed how communities protect children. It changed how missing cases are handled. And it reminded the world that even the most ordinary Saturday can turn into tragedy in the blink of an eye. One fingerprint may have cracked the case. But the question that's haunted everyone since that day remains: where is Michaela Garecht? And what really happened in those final moments? One fingerprint finally brought answers after 32 years, but not every family gets that closure. 7 years later, in small-town Arkansas, another child would vanish. Morgan Nick was 6 years old, a bright, curious little girl with blonde hair and a big smile. On June 9, 1995, she went to a Little League baseball game with her mom in Alma, Arkansas. It was one of those warm summer nights where the air felt soft, the kind of night where kids stayed out late catching lightning bugs, and no one thought twice about safety. Morgan played with her friends near the field, laughing, chasing bugs, barefoot in the grass. Just an ordinary small-town night. Until it wasn't. Around 10:45 p.m., Morgan was near her mother's car, a Nissan Stanza parked in the lot. She'd taken off her shoes and was shaking out the sand. That's when she disappeared. Witnesses later said they saw a man watching the kids that night. Not just watching, lurking. A stranger hanging back in the shadows, eyes fixed on Morgan and the other children. He approached them at one point, spoke to them, though no one ever revealed what he said. The man was hard to forget. Tall, around 6 feet. Salt and pepper hair combed back over his head, possibly curly. A moustache. Scruffy beard like he hadn't shaved in a few days. Bare chest, hairy, wearing cut-off blue jean shorts, no shirt, no shoes. His voice had a thick, rough accent, described as hillbilly-sounding. He drove a red Ford pickup. The paint was dull, aged, with a white camper shell over the back. Curtains hung over the windows. The camper didn't even fit quite right. It was damaged at the rear, a little too small for the truck. The front end of the camper shell sat a few inches lower than the roof of the truck cab. That truck was seen pulling out of the parking lot right when Morgan disappeared. Gone into the night. The shock was immediate. Police rushed to the scene. People searched the area, calling Morgan's name, hoping she'd just wandered off. But the dread settled in fast. She was gone. No trace, no clue where that truck had gone. And then the pattern emerged. The very same night, just down the road, a man matching that description tried to lure a 4-year-old girl into his truck. Her mother's scream saved her. The next day, 15 miles away in Fort Smith, another man, or maybe the same man, tried to coax a 9-year-old into a restroom at a convenience store. She resisted, and he backed off. Same type of man, same type of truck. Police believed they were dealing with one predator moving through the area, and Morgan had been his victim. For years, the case stayed open. The truck was caught on home video from the ball game, but the driver's face wasn't visible. Morgan's photo became one of the most recognized images in missing child cases. Tips came in, sightings were reported, but nothing led to her. And then, a name. In 2021, authorities named Billy Jack Links as a primary person of interest. Links was a local man with a dark past, a World War II vet, worked for an airline, moved to Arkansas in the late 70s, and in 1995, 2 months after Morgan vanished, he tried to lure an 11-year-old girl into his red pickup. He was caught and sent to prison. Lynx's truck, the same red pickup, was seized by police in 2020. Inside, they found a few haunting clues: a strand of blonde hair, trace blood on the seat. The DNA in that hair matched Morgan's maternal line. It could have come from her, or from her mother, or from a sibling. A blue-green fiber beneath the seat matched the color of the Girl Scout t-shirt Morgan had worn that night. It wasn't enough to close the case, but it was enough for authorities to say they believed Lynx was Morgan's abductor. Lynx died in prison in 2000. The truth, if he held it, died with him. Morgan's family never stopped searching, never stopped hoping for answers. Her disappearance reshaped how Arkansas and the nation respond to missing child cases, new laws, new protocols. But for Morgan's mother, and for everyone who remembers that night, there's still an empty space where a little girl should be. The small-town baseball game, the warm summer air, the barefoot kids chasing fireflies, all of it still haunts Alma, Arkansas. And the question that refuses to fade: where is Morgan Nick? By the mid-90s, America was waking up to the reality of missing children, but as the decade ended, a new kind of case would emerge, one that exposed dangerous gaps in how we protect young adults. Suzanne Lyall was 19. A quiet, brilliant college student with a kind heart and a mind built for technology. On March 2nd, 1998, she stepped off a bus at SUNY Albany just after 9:25 p.m. She had finished a shift at a computer store, taken the bus back to campus, and was nearly home. The walk to her dorm, less than 1,000 feet. But somewhere in those final steps, Suzanne disappeared, and no one has seen her since. Suzanne grew up in Ballston Spa, New York. The youngest of three, she was adored by her siblings. Her sister Sandy and her brother Steve were much older and completely smitten with their baby sister. When she was a baby, they even fought over who would get to have her sleep in their room. Steve, who left for college when Susie started kindergarten, came home almost every weekend just to spend time with her. She was a quiet kid, shy, but she had this spark for learning, especially when it came to computers. By age 10, she was playing around with an old Commodore her dad brought home. By 12, she was taking it apart, rebuilding it, figuring out how to connect to local bulletin boards. Long before social media, Suzanne had already found ways to connect with people online. She loved sewing, she wrote poetry, but technology, that was where she felt free. March 1st, 1998 was her mom's birthday. Suzanne called home to wish her a happy birthday. She apologized for not visiting, said she had midterms to focus on. It was the kind of call any parent treasures, and no one knew it would be the last time they'd hear her voice. The next day, Suzanne went to work at the Crossgates Mall, at a computer software store. After her shift, she caught the bus back to campus. Witnesses saw her step off at Collins Circle around 9:25 p.m. Her dorm was just a few minutes' walk away, but she never arrived. The first clue that something was wrong came the next day, March 3rd. Suzanne's boyfriend called her parents. "Did you know Susie didn't come back to her room last night?" Her dad, Doug, didn't waste a second. He jumped in the car and rushed to campus. What he found made the fear sink in deeper. Suzanne's room was untouched, her glasses were there, and she needed them. Her hairdryer was on the bed, no sign of her, no sign she'd come back at all. Police were called. A search began. They covered more than 400 acres, the campus, the mall, bike paths, but there was no sign of Suzanne. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Questions mounted, rumors spread. People wondered. Could it have been someone she knew? Police wouldn't say. To this day, they haven't confirmed or ruled out any specific person, including her boyfriend. They've interviewed many people, but no arrests, no suspects named publicly. What haunts everyone most is how close she was to safety. Just 900 feet. How could no one see anything? How could danger have waited in that small stretch between the bus stop and her dorm? As the months passed, the trail went cold, but the Lyalls didn't stop. When the police had no answers, they became their own investigators. And as they searched for Suzanne, they started helping other families too. They founded the Center for Hope, a non-profit that supports families of missing people. They launched creative ways to keep attention on the missing, like playing cards printed with faces of missing persons, distributed in New York prisons, like coasters with photos of the missing left in local bars and restaurants. And they fought for change. Their efforts helped pass Suzanne's Law, eliminating waiting periods for reporting missing adults aged 18 to 21. Before that, turning 18 meant falling into a legal gap. Too old for the protections given to children, too young to be considered a fully independent adult. They also helped pass the Suzanne Lyall Campus Security Act, requiring colleges to create safety plans in partnership with local police. Through their grief, they built a legacy that's protected countless others. Doug Lyall passed away in 2015, but Mary Lyall never stopped. She still lives in the family home, where they raised their 3 kids. Suzanne's room remains mostly unchanged. The bunnies she used to sew and sell as a teen are still there. At SUNY Albany, Suzanne hasn't been forgotten. Her photo hangs on the bulletin board at the campus police department. The case remains open. The New York State Police continue to follow leads even now, more than 2 decades later. And Mary, she keeps hoping, at airports, in crowds, at conferences. She scans faces, always wondering if one day she'll see her daughter again. Suzanne's disappearance changed laws. It changed how campuses protect students. It brought comfort and support to other families of the missing. But the question that haunts everyone who knows her story is the same today as it was that night. What happened to Suzanne Lyall? These families turned tragedy into change, saving countless others. What will you do? Comment how these stories changed your perspective. Will you be more aware? Help a stranger? One comment, one action, one person at a time. That's how we build a safer world. Subscribe to keep this movement going.